What's going on, world? It's your boy Steve Dab, and I am really hoping that you're going to enjoy this step-by-step guide that is going to show you how to invest in mobile homes. Now, before you get too excited, understand this is a full disclosure. I have never purchased a mobile home in my life. In fact, up until recently, I had never been into a mobile home park. However, what I plan on doing is documenting my week by week progress, so you can kind of see the things that I get right and replicate them. As they say, you never have to reinvent the wheel. And the mistakes I made, I want to share those with you so you don't make those same mistakes. So stay tuned. This should be fun. And I'll kind of give you a run through of what my very first week looked like. Here's a quick overview of my workflow. You can see I've got mobile home parks listed on the west side of Indy. And I've kind of listed them in an order per where I want to visit them. I've also got this Google, using Google Earth. I actually got this set up where I've put in a lot of different information about different parks. So here's a specific park, but basically I'm looking at the address right now, 9231, and then on the next screen I've got MapQuest opened up. I use MapQuest instead of Google Maps because you can add more than 10 stops. I think you can have like 20 or 25 or something like that stops. So basically what I'll do is just go ahead and type in that address. And again, I do not allow it to reroute because I've already routed it the way that I think is best, or the way that I want to travel, because I know where I want to end for the day. So I'll get to the park. I always check the zip codes. Every once in a great while, you will find a street where it's more than one places. But basically, here's my starting point. So I'm going to be driving down here. You can kind of see the route that I'll be taking. Hour 17 minutes of driving, and basically I'm going to be doing an overview of these different properties. Going back over here to the map I had mentioned, if I were to zoom back, again, this is where I've taken all of the legitimately registered mobile home parks in Marion County, and I've charted them. And what I did was just kind of broke down the city off the prime line of Meridian in Indianapolis. So pretty much everything I'm visiting over here. But you'll notice next to each one, I have a rating next to it. So for example, Lake of the Pines, I gave it a 5S rating. Well, if you click on that and open up the chart, actually, I'm sorry, if you click over here on it, what'll happen is it'll take you to the Google Street View. And what I really like about that is that I'm able to kind of zoom in and see exactly what it looks like in that area. So that's just a really cool feature. On some of these, you can actually walk through the property, and that is not the correct address. Oh, I'm on the other side of the street. So here we go right here. So you can kind of see and do a virtual tour of sorts, although I'm still going to drive the property today because I try to keep an update. But you know, I've got this one listed as a 5-star community, namely because of the paved roads. And yeah, hi. Can I not pick you up right now? Can I finish the video and then pick you up? Okay, hold on. All right, up. Okay. Yep, so I'm making a don't say cheese, honey. I'm making a video on the other side of the camera. All right, so this is that current park. So basically, using this map is a great resource. I encourage everyone in your area to kind of pretty much do the same thing. You can see here's a park where I've got listed as a 1S or 2S park, and again, you set those up so that when you click on them, it pretty much takes you to the Google Earth view. Some of these you can walk down, some you cannot, but there's that specific park. There's actually one right next to it. And these are actually two separate parks, but you know, I use this to be familiar with my area. One other thing you would notice is that I have these color coded. So any park that I know for certain that one company owns multiple lots. So for example, all of this orange color, I believe it is, are Coron properties. Yeah. If I click on any of them, we'll use Briar Creek as an example. Actually, hold on, honey. We will go over here and use Briar Creek as an example. Once I click on it, it takes me to this view. Of course, you can see the title there. And I can kind of just walk through some of these. This one, apparently I cannot. but Briarwood is also one of theirs. And on many of these, depending on who was driving the Google Earth vehicle, but you can kind of go through and just get an idea of the community, what it looks like. I believe I have this listed as a 4-star community based off what I can see. But part of what I'll be doing today is a just a detailed drive through. I'll have the GoPro Hero 9 hooked up to my uh, windshield, more or less, so I can get a just a really good look of what everything looks like right now. There's a property listed for sale. Um, but yep, again, that's just an example. So I highly encourage you to make one of these for your area. If you have any questions about exactly how I went about it, reach out to me, ask, and or comment below, and I'll be more than willing to share that with you. And then on my next trip, at some point, I'll be doing the ones on the east side, and then we'll begin buying from there. For now, I'm about to start this route, and I'm signing out. All right, everyone. So here's pretty much the step-by-step breakdown of the approach that I chose to take during my first week getting involved in mobile home investing. Uh, Step one, I think, is to just make sure you find some great resources. There are so many just great and free resources that are available to us. For example, you can do a web search and look for things related to mobile home park investing. You can get on YouTube. There are a lot of great channels on YouTube. There's Facebook groups that are specifically dedicated to people who either remodel mobile homes or rehab them, or who are into buying and selling, or even a mobile home park owner. So you can just join some of those groups, and then podcasts. Whichever approach you take, try to find someone who has a teaching style that kind of resonates with you. So like me personally, one of the places I got started was reading Deals on Wheels by Lonnie Scruggs. If you have not already read that book or heard about it, please look it up. That's definitely probably one of the best places for somebody who doesn't really know anything about the industry, who wants to get started. Check out that book. And then in terms of podcasts, personally, I listen to John Fedro, and it's one of those things. It's just his teaching style. It works well for me. So there may be other people out there who are just as qualified and who are great at what they're doing. He's been in the game for a while. I enjoy his videos, his YouTube videos, his podcast. So that tends to be somebody that I stick to and pay attention to on a regular basis. I'll talk more about that later. The second step, and I guess this kind of ties into the first one, is I would say force someone to become your mentor before asking them. And I know initially that may sound crazy, but what I mean is, like, once you find somebody who you want to follow or study underneath, first I would say look at the material they're putting out there. Assuming if you've ran across them, they've probably got a lot of free material out there. And again, like I said, for me, John Fraser was the person who seemed to be a good fit for me. So you will hear me reference him a lot throughout these video series. Now, full disclaimer, I'll let you know I am in no way affiliated with him or anything like that. It's just I like his teaching style, so that's where I choose to make my primary source for information currently. So in fact, I'll take this to another level, and I'll share something with you that pretty much no one else in the world knows yet, and that's that I'm going to be a guest on his podcast one day. And that I haven't discussed it with him, or I haven't even tried reaching out to him yet. But I'm a firm believer that in life we can speak positivity into existence. So this is my affirmation for myself. I'm just taking the time to share it with you. But what I do know is that whenever I do reach out to him, he will immediately realize that I've put forth a lot of effort. He's going to know I'm serious because I will have watched the videos. I will have listened to podcasts, made notes, gathered information from other places. If I have questions, I'll make sure I try to research them on my own. And just make sure I come with a glass that is not just completely empty. So be willing to learn, but at the same time, make sure that you can show into any blah blah blah. Make certain that you can show any mentor or potential mentor that you're considering that you have the drive to make it worth their while. The last thing I would want to do is utilize someone's time and then essentially don't act on it, and which basically means their time was wasted essentially. And then a third thing I would say is to apply what you have learned from all of those resources and also spend some time being creative. And I'll talk a little bit more about the creativity thing, but it's like, so for me, I listen to at least one of John's podcasts every single day. Many of them are like closer to 20-minute mark, so I'll listen to like three of them, but I try to get in a good solid hour of listening. It usually happens in the morning when I'm doing my, when I'm working out in the morning as I'm starting my day. But yeah, make sure you utilize those resources and don't be afraid to be creative. Step number 4, I would say learn your market, and that's pretty much the gist of what I spent this weekend doing is learning my market. Um, so from the video you can see earlier, I kind of gave an overview or showed the approach that I utilize to gather a lot of information. And like I said, you can follow that approach. You can do it totally different. And keep in mind that I am brand new when it comes to manufactured home investing. So don't be surprised if you see me doing something different in future videos, or if you see somebody else doing something that proves to be more effective. Ultimately, always find out what works best for you. So with putting together the video clip that I showed earlier, basically what I did is I went to my county website, and then identified all of the legally registered mobile home parks in Marion County, which is the county where I currently reside. And then in a separate tab, I opened up Google Earth. I logged in and created a project. In that project, that's pretty much where you go through and you put in all the different properties. You can color code them and put in whatever details you want. There are 40 parks in my area, or in my county. There are 40 total parks that are listed. 2 of them are no longer in existence, and I'll talk about that later. Uh, and then after that, I open up MapQuest. I create an account also, and the reason why I do that is so that I can revert back to that information, so I can save these maps when I want to travel that entire same path again. Uh, so I determined myself what order I wanted to arrange them, the way I wanted to kind of drive through the city. So I done that instead of letting MapQuest decide for me. And yeah, I think I had up to 22 homes on the east side or something like that. But back to the Google Earth project, I use that street view, and I also utilize that to rate the parks. Oddly enough, when I went and drove through the parks, which is kind of what you see me doing here, I realized that those Google images, they're pretty recent, so they're pretty accurate to what the park looks like right now in most instances. Um, let's see what else. Now I did go through every single park, and I'm pretty certain that I'm not going to be able to operate out of every single one of those parks. But what I did want to do was make certain that I was aware of them. And then the next thing I did, I came up with a list of like general questions that I would want to ask a park. I want to say only one park was actually open when I was out, which is fine because my main goal was to get this footage and kind of be familiar with the location of the parks and see if there's anything that really stood out to me. Um, so I made a list of questions. I got a lot of those questions from mobilehomeinvesting.net. Again, that's mobilehomeinvesting.net. And again, that's John Fadro's website, oddly enough. But like I said, that's where I get a lot of information. I enjoy his content. Um, Now, in terms of creativity, don't be afraid to be unique to some extent. So, like when you walk into a park office, I think it's good if you can do something to set yourself aside from everybody else who walks in there. Not saying it's a ton of people, but so you're not just another guy or another gal who's walking in trying to purchase homes or trying to, however they may look at it. So for me, what I do is I take business cards with me. And I don't have any mobile home investor business cards made, but I instead take cards for one of my other businesses, which is real estate photography. So here's my angle. I noticed that like only a handful of the parks in my area had professional photos on their website. A lot of them didn't even have a website, but even including a Facebook page and things like they either had no images or horrible images. So depending on how the conversation with the park manager is flowing, I may say something like, I really appreciate you taking time out of your day to speak with me, to help me, giving me an opportunity to learn more about your park, blah, blah, blah. Any chance you would be interested in and having me come back to capture some beautiful photos of the property. You know, with usage rights, I usually charge, you know, whatever, let's say $450. But again, you know, I'm so appreciative that you're making time for me. I also want to be giving as well. So I would do it for $0.00. So you want me to come back and take pictures of the property for you one day? You know, and sometimes that's a way of me just one getting them to respond. So even if they're like on the fence about, can this guy invest here? Maybe, maybe not. I don't know him well. It's like, well, you know what? We're getting free photos out the deal, and I humbly I will say I do take some pretty good quality photos. So you know, it's small things like that that we can do that I think will kind of help just create degrees of separation. You know, as we're building our empire or whatever you want to call it. Um, you know, so it's basically just small talk, but I get to the point where I am getting them to realize that I do want to bring something of value. I want to start off adding value, right? And then by adding value or being willing to add value to somebody, then I think people are naturally more open to do something you. For example, you hold the door open for somebody, right? You've done something of value for them. And oftentimes, even if people aren't in a great mood, usually they'll at least mutter out a thank you, right? It's because people get to the point where they feel almost obligated in a way to reciprocate that goodwill. Um, aside from that, I would say when you're going out, pack a lunch, hydrate well, and hit the road. As you can see here, I placed the GoPro Hero 9 on my windshield, so as I drive through each part, um, I'll just capture a video. I don't go up and down every aisle, but I hit the majority of them. And then I essentially just update it when I get home and separate them, label them, and all that fun stuff. I probably won't edit the videos because it's really not necessary. But this was my week one. These are the main things that I did. Stay tuned for week number 2. And I've got a laundry list of other things I want to get knocked out. Hey, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And I'll be tuned in next week.